I'm Kristen Larson. I'm a water resource analyst, and I work with stormwater and wetland permitting, and also do help with some wetland restoration.
Hi, I'm Mike Wanis with the Carver County Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm the district manager, so I kind of oversee all the operations at the Soil and Water Conservation District. And we're out here today at the Watertown Wetland Restoration Site. So this project is a wetland restoration. You can see there's a large basin in the middle here with some high hills all the way around it. The purpose of this project was to restore the wetland, to connect some trails that citizens can access and walk around. And then third and final, the project was to create wetland banking credits that could be used for future wetland impacts. This basin has over 800 acres that drain down to this point, that then drains under County Road 10 and goes west to the South Fork Crow River. In order to restore the hydrology to the basin, an outlet control structure was added in front of the culvert that drains under County Road 10. The outlet control structure is made of sheet piling, or large sheets of metal that are driven into the ground. The sheet piling keeps the water from leaving the site until it overtops the lowest point. The sheet pile structure was designed to hold water at a pool elevation to keep water on site for the wetland plants to thrive. This structure also has stop logs that are adjustable. The stop logs can be removed to artificially lower the water table. This might be needed during the first few growing seasons in order to control weeds and give the native wetland plants the ability to take root and grow. This whole site was a previously drained wetland. So what that means is in the early 1900s, there was a drainage ditch constructed through the middle of the basin in order to remove the excess water so that it could be farmed. In the late 1900s, early 2000s, development started occurring around the site. It's actually tax forfeited, so it went back to the state of Minnesota. And then the local governments got together and decided to try to make a wetland restoration project out of it, which would have multiple benefits. It can provide open space and connection for the citizens in the area to have access to walking trails. Of course, wetland restorations help clean stormwater runoff, and the wetland acts like a large filter or a sponge.
So a wetland is an area where water pools for a minimum of 2 weeks during the growing season. And because water pools there, it changes the way the soils look and feel, and also the kinds of plants that you'll find in that community. So those are things when we are identifying where wetlands are. Those are the three things that we look for. We look for water being present in the area for a minimum of 2 weeks. We look for certain characteristics in the soils, and then we look for certain types of plants that will only grow in wetlands. Kinds of plants that we see in wetlands are adapted to living in wet conditions. Depending on the kind of wetland, wetlands that are wet year-round and have some amount of standing water, they're plants that are specifically adapted to living in those conditions and kind of having wet feet, year-round. There are other plants that tolerate changes in water level. So wetlands where the water level fluctuates throughout the year. Maybe when it rains, it'll fill up a little bit, but will dry out then if there's a dry
This
spell.
is willow herb. This is a plant that we see on site in the wet meadow area. So this plant is blue vervain. That is boneset. So
The city of Watertown wanted to make sure that this project included a series of trails that would connect the neighborhoods on the east and west sides of the wetland. The trails also provide connection to nature and open space. This project included a little over 1 mile of new trails that loop from the southeast corner of the site to the northwest corner of the site. A lot of people are getting out and enjoying the open space that this project provides. So this site used to be farmland, and it was about 2017 where we took and put the native vegetation down. So we seeded it with both native wetland plant species and some of the native buffer species, some of the upland buffer. And then those first couple of years, there's a lot of maintenance that's needed. So a lot of mowing, a lot of spraying, just trying to keep the weeds at bay. Once the native vegetation kind of puts its roots down first, so once the roots are established, then the vegetation itself starts taking over. Along with that whole process, we're also working on the wetland banking side of things. So there's a formal application that has to be submitted to the state and to the Corps of Engineers. That process takes a little while, so while all that paperwork was being done, our staff were kind of working on the maintenance side of things, getting that vegetation established and growing. And then finally in the spring of this year, spring of 2020, the sheet pile structure was added into the drainage ditch. And that's important because that holds the water in the basin, and that provides the hydrology for the plants to grow. So those wetland plants that need the hydrology in order to really flourish, the weir structure was added to hold the water in the basin and provide the water for those plants. So this project was a combination of a lot of partners had to work on this. We had the City of Watertown, we had Carver County, we had the Carver County WMO, and we had the Carver County Soil and Water Conservation District.